think a lot of men and women are angry at each other. And I think there's almost this war that is brewing within society because women feel like men can't meet their expectations, that they're setting these expectations and men are just failing to meet them. And on the flip side, men are feeling discouraged and irritated and angry and rejected because they feel like these standards are set too high. How do we fix that? What's the solution to the problem? The solution to the problem is the word of God. Because without a relationship, without marriage, the Lord calls us higher. As women, the Lord teaches us how to speak life into a man. Am I gentle in my speech? Am I also being truthful and standing firm on the foundation that I've built on Christ? How to speak life into the relationships around us. How to first become that woman of God who is strong, who meets those standards before putting those expectations on a man. And in the reverse, men, how can I take a step higher? What are the standards in my life that I want to meet? If I have certain addictions, if I have certain pains, if I have certain troubles, those can be broken by the blood and in the name of Yeshua. That requires a discipline to walk that out. And it requires a discipline to first say, hey, I need help and I want to start. Lord, help me get better.
Something strange has been happening lately, and it's making a lot of people uncomfortable.
Oh, it's that time of year when all the women are like, oh, Santa, please bring me a good man. I want a good man for 2026. Well, I'm sorry, Brittany, but Santa doesn't see your Instagram. You're getting a lump of coal. I mean, let's be serious, ladies. Half of your social media looks like a situationship starter pack. Anyways, a strong masculine man is not going to chase after a chaotic woman. And you can take the boss babe hat off, honey, because I'm going to tell you from experience, alignment is way better than independence. So when you're asking, where the hell is my husband? Remember, peace attracts husbands. This just attracts lessons. And I have said this before. Remember, we are not bounty paper towel. Okay, this is not the quicker picker upper. If you keep attracting garbage, you need to start doing a little reflective work as to why do I keep attracting garbage men? Why can't I find a good husband? My one piece of sister advice, remember, if you keep entertaining the clown, you just become part of the circus.
For decades, the assumption was simple. Men needed relationships more than women did. The narrative said men would always chase, compete, and jump through hoops just to secure a relationship. If men didn't do those things, they'd supposedly end up lonely and miserable. But 2026 is exposing a completely different reality.
I think it's hilarious when modern feminists say, we don't need men. Like, girl, do you not understand that this entire society is built by men? But I get it. We've been programmed to think that needing men makes us weak. But the reality is that our entire comfortable existence depends on what men do every single day. Like, what are we not understanding here? But it's okay. I got you. Let me give you some facts that might make you uncomfortable, but you need to hear this because it's getting a little ridiculous how ungrateful and dismissive women have become. Over 80% of military personnel are men. They're literally protecting our freedom and safety while we sleep so you can walk outside without fear. Over 90% of firefighters are men. They're running into burning buildings to save your life when your house catches fire or when you're in a car accident. Over 90% of construction workers are men. They're building the house you live in, the roads you drive on, the mall you shop at, the gym you work out in. Over 95% of oil rig workers are men. They're getting the energy you need to charge your phone so you can watch your TikToks, the electricity for your Netflix shows, the power to do your hair and makeup. Over 80% of engineers are men. They're designing the apps on your phone, the car you drive, the plumbing in your bathroom, the air conditioning that keeps you comfortable. Over 90% of truck drivers are men. They're delivering the food you eat, the clothes you wear, the makeup you buy, everything from Amazon that shows up at your front door. Over 95% of coal miners are men. They're extracting the coal that powers your electricity for your lights, your TV, your hair straightener, your coffee maker. And over 80% of surgeons are men. They're the ones saving your life when you need emergency surgery, fixing your body when something goes wrong, and enhancing your appearance with cosmetic procedures. Society has taught us that acknowledging this makes us anti-feminist, but it's just reality. We can appreciate what men contribute without diminishing what women contribute. The vast majority of what men do in these dangerous, difficult jobs is to keep society functioning so that we can be safe and comfortable. And instead of being grateful for this, we've been conditioned to be resentful, entitled, and dismissive of their contributions, and I'm tired of it. We've been programmed to think that independence means we don't need anyone, but that's not how society works. We're all interdependent, we all need each other. It's not about being helpless or weak. It's about recognizing that we all have different roles and contributions that make society function. What we don't realize is that men have their strengths and weaknesses, and we women have our strengths and weaknesses too. There are certain things that men can do better than women, and vice versa. There are things that we're going to do better than men. Like, why are we fighting so hard to be like men or think we don't need men when the reality is, us women, we're designed to do things that men can't do. We're literally fighting our natural instincts and then acting surprised when it doesn't fulfill us. We need that balance and polarity to survive and keep society functioning. It's not about one gender being better than the other. It's about recognizing that we complement each other. You can be a strong, independent woman all you want and still appreciate what men contribute to society. These aren't mutually exclusive. Stop letting modern culture make you ungrateful for the people who literally keep our world running. Appreciation isn't weakness, it's wisdom.
A growing number of American men are perfectly comfortable living the bachelor lifestyle. They're focusing on work, hobbies, fitness, travel, friends, and their own peace of mind. Instead of constantly chasing validation or trying to meet expectations placed on them, many men have simply stepped back from the dating game entirely.
Hey fuckers, something that you may not be aware of, but for International Women's Month, we are required to make a man cry every day. I know, it's a big task. It's a big task, but I believe in you. I do. I think you can do it. Have you already today? If not, there's still time.
Guys, the other day I seriously had an epiphany. Don't pay attention to that. The other day I was at a bar and I was just watching what was happening, and I realized that the girls were buying drinks for the guys, and they were on like a throuple group date. The girls were buying drinks. The guys were sitting down like pretty princesses. And then you have all these boss bitches that are out by themselves or out with their friends. And then it's like all these loser men. And it's just like something dawned on me. And I was like, bruh, we are living in the age of the woman. We are literally coming to the fucking forefront, bruh. Like, these men are not shit, unfortunately. Like, women get paid more. Like, we don't even get paid more. But somehow we've, like, closed the gap. And we just know how to fucking hustle. End of the day, we know how to hustle, and we're making our money.
And here's the part that seems to frustrate people the most. They're not miserable about it. They're actually relaxed.
We don't acknowledge on the left is that women aren't interested in mating with men who aren't economically viable.
And the reason we don't acknowledge it is because it's a complete fabrication, a total lie. This idea that women are avaricious, gold-digging vampires who won't even look at a man unless he earns six figures is just unrestrained misogyny. But before I talk about that, I want to talk about something else Professor Galloway said in that clip.
No group has fallen further faster in our nation than young men.
And the context here is regarding women who are attaining greater levels of education and more financial success, with Galloway saying that young men as a result have fallen off, except, like his earlier comment, this is also not true. High school education for men has improved year on year on year for the last 60 years. There's been no drop, no fall off. Now you will notice around 2000 that women start to pull ahead of men. This has also been the case for college education. While there's been a slight dip post-COVID, overall the trend is still the same, that year on year more men are attaining college education. And while women are attaining those levels of education at higher rates, this starts to feel like the video I did on Lego patriarchy, where even though men are advancing and gaining higher levels of education, because they are no longer the front runners and women have pulled ahead, that suddenly it feels like oppression. And if we're going to talk economic viability, then it's worth pointing out that men of every education level, even those who did not complete high school, still out-earn women by 20% or more. So let's go back to this idea that women won't date broke men. First off, go talk to any woman. Nearly all of them have dated a broke man that they financially supported at some point in their life. In fact, so commonplace is this idea that women will date a third-string musician, actor, artist, or DJ, that not only is it a trope, but it's also a running gag.
No mystic bad feeling under your ribs going, hey, maybe don't date a DJ. again.
Women have no problem dating a broke man. Broke men, on the other hand, have real problems with successful women. A study looked into levels of distress among heterosexual couples and their relative spousal incomes. And for women, what they found was, regardless of whether they started out the relationship earning more or less than their partner, their levels of distress were relatively consistent, regardless of if they earned none of the income or all of the income, with their least amount of distress being where there was an equal partnership of income. But for men who start out earning more than their wives, if their wives suddenly start earning more than they do, their distress levels go through the frickin' roof. But interestingly, that curve going down is men who started relationships where their wives already out-earned them. They're perfectly content and their stress levels only go up as they're asked to share more of the financial burden. Understandable. So men are just as economically viable as they always have been, and women will continue to date broke men. The issue they can no longer afford is their misogyny. It is their insecurities, not their bank account, that is preventing them from having successful relationships.
For years, men were told that if they didn't step up, they'd regret it later. But many of those same men are discovering that life can be surprisingly peaceful when you're not dealing with constant relationship drama, social pressure, or unrealistic expectations.
I'm gonna be a bitch for a sec. I work full time, I go to school full time, I show up for my mom, I show up for my 3 best friends, I show up for my sister who's in prison, mind you. My brother passed away last year, my brother and my dog in the same week. I got a puppy February of this year, went through a major abdominal surgery February of this year. I'm on hormone therapy. Throughout all of that, I've maintained a 4.0, I'm a part of an honor society, I got a degree, I'm getting another degree, and guess what I have? A boyfriend that I still show up for, that I still make feel special. Okay? So your man has no fucking excuse. There are women who are doing everything that I'm fucking doing and that are mothers on top of it and still show up for their fucking husbands. Men have no excuse why they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Everybody has a fucking job. You don't get to use that as an excuse why you don't show up for people. Get it together. Learn how to emotionally regulate yourself and be a fucking man. Sack up. Because women out here got some big fucking balls. Big ones. They're getting a little larger than yours.
Men of the internet. When a woman puts on makeup, it's because she wants to put on makeup. And it's fun. It's a fun activity. We all know men hate makeup. We don't give a fuck. Please stop telling us that we look better without. No one fucking cares about your opinion. You literally are just so used to women being consumed and being meant for your consumption. You don't know what it's like now that women are trying to do things that they just like doing, that they just want to do for themselves. I like putting on makeup. It is fun. It's literally therapeutic, and it's really fun to see the final output. That's it. That's it. Women are literally, our whole entire identity is made for consumption by everyone else other than ourselves. That's why people are like, you should smile more, you should do this more, that's why you should do this. It's because it's very normal for our entire identity to be for others. Everything about us is for others. Men, please stop fucking telling us that you like us, but no one cares. No one cares. I don't actually think men understand. It's because they're used to women being for their consumption. And they still think that women are always for their consumption. So they're like, oh, wait, this woman must not know that the men of the internet don't like this. We need to make sure that she's aware that men are not okay with how she looks. Especially on a makeup page about someone's love for makeup. That's not, whose audience isn't me, a man. I must tell her. I must tell her. It's so important. Oh my God.
So instead of complaining about being single, a lot of men are leaning into it. They're building their careers, improving their health, saving money, and creating lives that feel stable and enjoyable on their own terms. And that shift changes the entire dynamic.
What's something you'll get a lot of hate for if you say it out loud?
Men grow up their whole lives being taught how to treat a woman, but never what to expect from one. While women grow up their whole lives being taught what to expect from a man, but never how to treat one. And that imbalance is quietly destroying all modern relationships. Because from a young age, men are taught to open doors, pull out chairs, be patient, be understanding, be accommodating, prioritize her needs, and absorb her complaints. But no one ever teaches them how to set boundaries. No one ever teaches him that his needs, his desires, his emotional safety actually matter too. So he grows up overgiving, overfunctioning, self-abandoning. And when he finally starts to feel that all his efforts are unseen, unappreciated, and most importantly, unreciprocated, when he finally realizes that they are not going to treat him the way that he treats them, he doesn't explode, he goes quiet, he withdraws. When he does this, that withdrawal gets labeled as emotional unavailability, disinterest, as him not caring anymore. So what does she do? She goes and vents to her friends. And what do? They all validate her feelings, tell her she deserves more. And we all know what path that leads to. But what never gets examined, the question that women never seem to ask, what could she do to make things better? What did he need and never received? This is why most relationships get to a point where they are filled with resentment instead of love and attraction. And that's where men stop showing up, not because they don't care, but because caring has cost them too much for too long. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear. A man who knows his value stops chasing her approval, stops trying to do anything he can to make her happy. He starts setting his boundaries, his standards, and when he does, this type of dynamic either rises to meet him where he's at, or he will walk away because a toxic relationship like that is far beneath him. And that's not arrogance. It's self-respect and self-care. Something that men have been taught they are not allowed to do for far too long. Stay strong, Kings.
Because the old system depended on men constantly pursuing, competing, and proving themselves. When men stop doing that, when they're comfortable being bachelors, the whole social script suddenly looks different.
You know, I see why men are staying single, because look around. We have women out here bragging about not cooking, not cleaning, not taking care of their home, not being soft, and not being supportive. And then expecting a man to show up as a provider, leader, planner, protector, and lover, while giving him absolutely nothing in return. And yes, I will be the one to say it. A home needs a woman who actually enjoys being a woman. A woman who takes pride in making her home feel warm and peaceful. A woman who loves her man in the same way that she wants to be loved. That is not oppression, that is care. Men are tired of being treated like a walking wallet. Tired of disrespect. Tired of begging for affection and a little peace. So, they are choosing to stay single, not because they hate women, but because they are looking for a woman that values her role just as much as his. And honestly, I don't blame them, because relationships only work when both people show up and give.
The main problem is parents aren't raising girls to be wives. Men are staying single because so many women want a husband but don't want the work that comes with a real relationship. Marriage used to mean partnership, not convenience.
Why successful men stay single. It's often the same mechanism that makes men savage in the workplace that also makes them extremely intelligent when it comes to women. For example, successful men know how to sniff out desperation and entitlement. Most women want their lifestyle, not them, so they become experts at sniffing that shit. They don't settle.
It's not a protest. It's not a rebellion. It's just men quietly realizing that they can build satisfying lives without making dating the center of everything. And the more men discover that kind of freedom, the harder it becomes to convince them that they're missing out.
Men stop playing by the rules. And now everyone's freaking out. Let's break down why silence has become the loudest move.